a tongue tattler in its natural habitat. Once nearly driven to extinction in the wild, these bird-like creatures are now making a cautious return. Their numbers, once perilously low, have begun to stabilize. Thanks to strict conservation measures, Humboldt Five and all of its curious, extraordinary inhabitants have been under vigilant protection for several years now. Join us once more as we embark on a journey to encounter some of the most fascinating, endearing, and dangerously peculiar creatures this planet has to offer. Welcome to the strange life on Humboldt Five. The journey begins far to the south of the Gleam Islands, a land carved by extreme drought and plunging canyons. One must remain sharply attuned, for here, even the faintest sign of life is easy to miss. Can you hear that? Such a delicate song could come from only one creature, the canyon frode. These drought-resistant animals are often found nestled within the cliff walls, where predators struggle to follow. And that song, it can mean only one thing. The frode is moments away from laying her eggs, and is now searching for the perfect hidden sanctuary. She lays her eggs in many scattered places. And then, without a backward glance, she simply hops away, leaving them to face the world alone. But after just 3 weeks, something begins to stir in the canyon. At first, they must leave the safety of their cradle. For only deep within the Drektum Desert will they find their first meal, the elusive Kapla beetle. But for some, that very first meal becomes their very first struggle. But as enchanting as this first journey may be, a shelter must be found before nightfall. For when darkness falls, the canyon teems with nocturnal predators. And those who fail to hide well in the Drektum Desert by night soon make the acquaintance of hunters, some small like the crystal crontu, but others terrifyingly large like this frintops. By morning, a ravenous sprinter roams the sands in search of what may be its final feast. The hungry Racentilon savors its final meal. A last burst of strength for the journey that lies ahead. And after a day beneath the scorching desert sun, its strength fades. And life quietly slips from its weary body. But on Humboldt Five, death is seldom truly the end. Racentilons possess a truly fascinating life cycle, After fertilization, a larva begins to grow inside the mother, feeding slowly from within, sustained by her very body in her final days. And when the time comes, the larvae, now winged, burst forth from their host, seeking out a distant oasis where they will transform into their adult form, ready to begin the cycle anew. Our journey continues northward, across the towering Sartanic mountain range, whose presence ensures the arid silence of the desert remains unbroken. Beyond it lies a vast delta region, a realm of endless swamps concealing within them deep, ancient forests, untouched by time. A gaze few could ever resist, and a voice as sweet as the morning mist. Deep within the shadowy swamps of Humboldt's western Gleam Isles, we've discovered a magnificent specimen, a giant glabonder in all its elusive glory. Glabonders appear gentle, almost serene, and though they feed exclusively on the large Scolosi flies, they are fiercely territorial. And when two rivals meet, the very swamp itself trembles beneath their fury. But sooner or later, the stronger will prevail, and the weaker has no choice but to slip away. We dive into the murky waters of the swamp. Down here, life follows its own rules, shaped by the constant gloom and the challenge of surviving in near total obscurity. Most predators here are ambush hunters, like this mer crab, patiently lying in wait for the current to deliver an unsuspecting meal right to its claws. The pale glugugus follows a different strategy. It rummages through the spongy ground in search of anything edible, accepting whatever it finds: mussels, dead prish, even the tiniest life forms filtered delicately from the mud. But it seems he doesn't appreciate being disturbed during his meal. But not everything in this region is made up of marshy ground. At slightly higher elevations, ancient and dense forests begin to unfold. In the distance, something catches a scent. A relative of a creature known to dwell on Sereniten. But unlike the pale Shadowfang, a patient stalker, the black shiny Shadowfang is a relentless predator, a true hunter of prey. And now, it has caught the scent. Sometimes, a Shadowfang must wander the forest for days on end before a suitable prey reveals itself. But now, the towering hunter sets eyes on its chosen prey. A young Philaterops, blissfully unaware of the fate that now draws near. It is over for the young Philaterops. Without hesitation, the Shadowfang begins to feast. After all, it hasn't eaten in nearly a fortnight. After the meal, the giant drags the remains away to to the hungry offspring already waiting in eager anticipation. Because this creature is not merely a killer, but also a devoted, nurturing mother. In these forests, the seasons are brief. On Humboldt Five, a full year spans just under 200 days, and so many creatures must adapt quickly or perish. Now, the Cavetics must act swiftly. Known to many only as rare and costly plush companions, these creatures are all too often traded illegally on the black market. Now, this clan has much to do before the bitter cold of winter sets in. At this time of year, the forest offers a bounty of berries and nuts, vital stores for the long months ahead, and already the search is underway for an alpha pair, the ones who will raise the next generation. The contests may look fierce, but they're mostly harmless. And the young of this year still have much to learn. How to build a proper nest, for instance. Or how to flee to the treetops when danger draws near. Because a hungry hunter could pass by at any moment, preparing for winter in its own. But above all, the most important task now is to build a cold-resistant nest, a shelter where the Cavetics can remain hidden and unharmed through the long months to come. For winter waits for no one and can descend upon the land in a matter of days. For several months, the forest lies buried beneath a deep, unyielding snow. The cold-blooded Shadowfang survives this time by slipping into a deep state of torpor, waiting, motionless, for the thaw to return. Most of the time, the Cavetics remain curled up in their dens, dozing through the cold, sustained by thick layers of fat. But on days when the frost isn't quite so cruel, they must venture out in search of water. And since they're already awake, why not steal a moment to play with their kin? But soon after, it's a swift return to the nest, to spend the final weeks in quiet anticipation, waiting for the first signs of spring. And as the first warm rays of sunlight touch the Shadowfang's skin, it stirs once more, awakened to life anew, and with it, the entire forest comes alive again. At this time of year, the climate turns especially damp, and a light drizzle can swiftly become a downpour that lasts for days on end. Many creatures are driven from their underground shelters during this season. Some emerge particularly irritable, like this Solarine, for example. Should you ever encounter one of these creatures, it is crucial to remain calm. The Solarine rarely attacks anything larger than itself, but when threatened, it can spray a corrosive toxin in self-defense. Stay composed, back away slowly, and more often than not, it will retreat to the nearest tree. But even the fiercest cloudburst eventually come to an end. The dominant female of the Cavetics has already laid her eggs, and with that, a new year begins. And so, we too take our leave from Humboldt Five and all of its extraordinary inhabitants.